Baba, please! Dayo fell on his knees, his voice breaking. Help me. Just extend the time a little. Give me till tomorrow. The placenta is coming. The women are in labor, but none has delivered yet. Please, Baba, don't let madness take me tonight. Worry makes a man run, but he cannot outrun fate. If you fail to get the placenta tonight, you shall run mad, Baba replied. Welcome to Tales at Dusk, a home of unique African tales. In the bustling city of Ibadan, Dayo is a young man in his early 30s, known for his vibrant spirit and hopeful smile. Every morning he arrives at the busy market with a wooden table and a tray of fresh meat, determined to make sales. The market is alive with noise, traders shouting, buyers haggling, children running about. But Dayo's stall remains unusually quiet. While other meat sellers attract customers and count money, Dayo spends much of his time chasing flies from his table. Despite his effort to clean and arrange his meat neatly, buyers often glance his way and move on to others. Some days he sells a little, other days nothing at all. Yet, Dayo is not lazy. He wakes up early, prepares his goods with care, and works hard to present himself well. Still, luck seems to pass him by. His reality is filled with waiting, sighing, and watching others succeed while he struggles to be noticed. What keeps Dayo going is his stubborn belief that things will get better. Deep inside, he carries a dream, one day owning a proper butcher's shop with a cold room, tiled floor, and a steady line of customers. For now, that dream feels far away as he endures long days in the noisy market, fighting flies instead of serving buyers. As the days passed, Dayo could no longer hide his worry. Each morning he came to the market with fresh energy, but each evening he went home with meat still lying on his tray. The coins in his pocket were never enough, and his heart grew heavier with every unsold piece. He began to ask himself hard questions. Is my meat not fresh enough? Do I not speak loud enough? Or is there something about me the customers do not like? These thoughts kept circling in his mind like restless birds. Sometimes he would watch the other sellers laugh and shout over prices, their hands busy with wrappers and knives, and he felt a sting deep inside. At home, the worry followed him. How long could he keep bringing meat to the market without making real sales? How long before his savings disappeared completely? Nights became restless. He tossed on his mat, staring at the ceiling, thinking of how tomorrow might just be the same story again. Flies on his table, silence around his stall, and buyers walking past him as if he wasn't even there. Dayo was not just worried about money. He feared being forgotten. In a market full of strong voices and sharp business minds, he felt invisible. He feared that if things continued this way, his dream of owning a proper butcher's shop would die before it even began. The market had closed for the day. Traders were packing up their goods, sweeping around their stalls, and heading home with tired but satisfied faces. But Dayo stood at his table, staring at the unsold chunks of meat that mocked his efforts. His shoulders felt heavy. Another day gone, another day wasted. The coins in his pocket jingled softly, too few to matter. Dragging his feet along the dusty road, Dayo wondered how much longer he could go on like this. His shirt clung to his body with sweat, and his mind wrestled with thoughts of failure. Then, as he turned a corner, he heard a familiar voice call out his name. Dayo? Dayo, is that you? He lifted his head, and to his surprise, it was Deji, an old friend from his younger days. Deji was dressed in sharp white agbada attire, the kind that announced wealth before a word was spoken. His wrist carried a shiny watch, and the car parked beside him gleamed under the fading Ibadan sun. Dayo blinked, almost in disbelief. The last time he had seen Deji, they were both struggling young men, chasing dreams that felt far away. But here stood Deji, glowing with success. Deji. It's really you, Dayo exclaimed, forcing a smile. They embraced, laughed a little, and began to walk together. But as they talked, Dayo could not shake off the pounding question in his chest. At last, he couldn't hold it any more. "Deji," he said quietly, his voice trembling with both envy and curiosity. "Tell me, how did you make it? Look at you. You've changed completely. What are you doing now?" Deji stopped walking. He studied Dayo carefully, his eyes narrowing as though weighing whether to speak or not. Then, with a half-smile, he said, "My brother, success is not for the faint-hearted. I have found a way that brings money, real money, but it is not for everyone." Dayo's heart raced. "Tell me, Deji. I am tired. Every day I go to the market and return with nothing. The flies know me better than the customers. Look at me. I'm struggling. Please, my friend, don't hide it from me." "Show me the way," Deji chuckled softly, then gestured toward his car. "Come with me. Let's talk at my place." That evening, Dayo followed Deji home. The house that greeted him was unlike anything he had ever stepped into. Tiled floors that shone like glass, furniture that looked imported, and the smell of wealth in every corner. Dayo sat, uneasy but amazed. "Now," Deji said, leaning forward, "if you want to know what I do, you must first ask yourself if you are ready. Ready to do what it takes. Ready to leave behind small dreams and embrace bigger risks. Are you ready, Dayo?" The room fell silent. Dayo's breath quickened. This was the moment he had been waiting for. Yet something about Deji's tone carried both promise and danger. Deji's eyes glimmered as he rose from his chair. "Dayo, if you are truly ready, then follow me. Tonight, you will see with your own eyes." Though his heart pounded with both fear and curiosity, Dayo nodded. "What do I have to lose?" he thought. They drove through the quiet streets of Ibadan, leaving behind the noise of the city until they reached a small compound hidden by thick trees. The place was dimly lit, the air heavy with strange smells of burning herbs. A low chant echoed from inside. Dayo shivered. "Where are we, Deji?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Deji gave him a firm look. "This is the Babalawo's house, the man who showed me the path to wealth. Do not fear, Dayo. Just listen, and choose wisely." Inside, the Babalawo sat cross-legged, his eyes sharp like they could see through flesh into the soul. Without waiting for an introduction, he spoke in a deep, echoing voice. "Ah, Dayo. I have been expecting you." Dayo froze. You know me?" The Babalawo smiled faintly. "I know all who seek what you seek. Wealth does not come free, my son. It comes with a task." He leaned closer, his words heavy. "Every first Sunday of the month, you must bring me the placenta of a newborn child, fresh. Not late, not stale. If you fail, madness will grip you instantly, and your mind will scatter like dry leaves in harmattan." Dayo's eyes widened. "Placenta. Every month. Baba, is that not too much?" The Babalawo's gaze did not soften. "Life feeds life. Wealth feeds sacrifice. That is the way. Refuse and you remain poor. Accept and you will never lack again." Deji placed a hand on Dayo's shoulder. "I thought it was impossible too at first. But think about it, Dayo. Babies are born every day. Hospitals, clinics, homes. It is easier than you think." Silence stretched between them. Dayo's mind spun. The image of his empty market table flashed before him, the endless flies, the laughter of other sellers, his dreams fading away. Then he remembered Deji's house, the cars, the life of abundance. Slowly, he nodded. "I accept." The Babalawo's smile widened. "Good. Then prepare yourself. The first Sunday is near." The night air was cool as Deji's car rolled slowly through the streets of Ibadan. But while the city outside rested, Dayo's mind was restless. He leaned his head back on the seat, his thoughts circling like vultures. A placenta every first Sunday. What if I fail? What if I get caught? The weight of the Babalawo's words sat heavily on him. He couldn't shake off the fear that one day madness might suddenly descend on him. Sensing his silence, Deji laughed softly. Ah, Dayo, you worry too much. Do you know how lucky you are? Your task is simple. Very simple compared to mine. Dayo turned to him sharply. Simple? Deji, do you hear yourself? A placenta every month. That is no ordinary thing. What if I can't find one? Deji smirked, his eyes fixed on the road. And what if I told you my own task? Then you would thank your stars for what you were given. Dayo's curiosity burned through his worry. Tell me then, what is your own task? Deji sighed, his voice lowering as though the car itself might carry the secret away. Mine is to sleep with a virgin every single month. If I fail, everything I have will vanish, and worse will befall me. Dayo gasped. A virgin? Every month? That is almost impossible. Exactly, Deji replied with a dry chuckle. But I manage. And so will you. Compared to mine, your assignment is child's play. Dayo shook his head in disbelief. The world suddenly felt darker and stranger than he had ever imagined. Yet, he felt a small sense of relief. Maybe his friend was right. Perhaps his task, dangerous as it was, could be managed. As though reading his thoughts, Deji added, I will make it easier for you. Tomorrow I'll take you to someone, a midwife at one of the big hospitals in town. With her, you won't need to stress. She will supply you every month, quietly. No one will know. For the first time that night, Dayo's lips curved into a smile. Hope flickered in his chest. Maybe, just maybe, his life was about to change. True to his word, the next day Deji introduced Dayo to the midwife, a quiet woman with sharp eyes who understood everything without many words. With her help, Dayo's task became easy. Every first Sunday he delivered exactly what the Babalawo demanded. And soon his life took a dramatic turn. At the market, things began to change in ways that shocked even Dayo himself. Where once he sat waving away flies, now customers rushed to his table. On days when other sellers hadn't sold a single chunk of meat, Dayo had already sold 3, sometimes 5 whole cows. His stall overflowed with buyers. People pushed, argued, even begged just to get a share of Dayo's meat. His fellow sellers watched in disbelief. What is it about Dayo's meat? Why do customers prefer him? They muttered among themselves. Some said his meat was softer. Others swore it tasted sweeter when cooked. But nobody could explain the mystery. The queue at his stall became a daily sight. Women with baskets, men with shopping bags, even rich families in cars stopped by to buy from him. Before long, word spread across Ibadan. If you wanted the best meat, you had to buy from Dayo. Then came the reservations. Wealthy families began calling him directly, placing orders for entire cows. Parties, weddings, and big celebrations all demanded Dayo's supply. Sometimes, before he even reached the market, half of his stock was already paid for. Dayo's life transformed before his very eyes. From a struggling seller mocked by flies, he became the most popular meat dealer in the city. Money flowed into his hands faster than he had ever dreamed. He bought better clothes, a bigger house, and even employed boys to help him at the stall. His once empty table became the busiest corner of the market. But with success came whispers. People could not understand his sudden rise. Some said it was luck, others suspected secrets. How can one man sell this much meat while we sit here with ours untouched? Grumbled fellow sellers. Something is not ordinary about Dayo, others murmured. Still, Dayo smiled through it all. He had entered a new world, one where money spoke louder than suspicion. The Babalawo's words rang in his mind every time he counted his earnings. Wealth feeds sacrifice. Month after month, Dayo's life moved smoothly. Every first Sunday, without fail, he delivered what the Babalawo demanded. The midwife had become his lifeline. She always had the placenta ready, neat and fresh, tucked carefully in a discreet package. With each successful delivery, Dayo's confidence grew. He began to believe nothing could ever go wrong. But then came a month that shook him to his bones. It was the last week of the month. Dayo, as usual, waited for the familiar call from the midwife. None came. At first, he brushed it off. Maybe she's busy, he thought. He decided to call her himself, but each attempt ended in the same sharp message. The number you dialed is not reachable. Unease crept into his heart. This was unusual. She had never failed him before. As the days moved closer to the dreaded Sunday, Dayo's worry turned into fear. By Saturday evening, desperation gripped him. He couldn't sit still. This woman knows what's at stake, he muttered to himself, pacing around his room. She cannot just disappear. The thought of madness, the Babalawo's warning, echoed in his head. He could almost feel it crawling at the edge of his mind. Sweat soaked his shirt, though the night was cool. At last he made up his mind. He had to go to the hospital and find her. The next morning he dressed quickly and hurried through the streets of Ibadan, his legs moving faster than his heart could bear. As he entered the hospital compound, his eyes darted around for a familiar face. He asked a nurse at the desk, "Please, where is Madame Aderonke, the midwife?" The nurse looked at him strangely. "You mean Nurse Aderonke?" "Haven't you heard?" "Heard what?" Dayo's voice cracked. The nurse lowered her tone. "She died. Few weeks ago. Brief illness. She's gone." The words struck Dayo like a thunderbolt. His knees weakened and he clutched the counter for support. "Dead? No. That's not possible. I just spoke with her last month." "I'm sorry," the nurse said gently. "She was buried already." Dayo stumbled outside, his head spinning. The world around him blurred, the honking cars, the shouting traders, the chatter of passers-by. None of it made sense anymore. His lifeline was gone. The one person who had shielded him from the impossible task had vanished, and tomorrow was the first Sunday. Panic clawed at him. The Babalawo's warning returned, sharper than ever. If you fail, madness will grip you instantly. For the first time since his wealth began, Dayo felt powerless. He stood under the hot Ibadan sun, his hands trembling, his mind racing. Where would he find a placenta now? Who could help him? The clock was ticking, and for once, success had no answer. The night before the dreaded Sunday was unlike any other for Dayo. Sleep refused to come. He lay on his mat, staring at the ceiling, heart racing like a drum. The Babalawo's voice echoed in his head. "If you fail, madness will grip you instantly." He sat up, clutching his head. Sweat rolled down his face, though the night breeze was cool. His thoughts spun wildly. The midwife was dead. No one else knew of his secret. Tomorrow was coming fast, and he had nothing. By dawn, his desperation had taken full form. He stumbled out of his house, eyes bloodshot, pacing through the streets of Ibadan like a man hunted. "I must find another way. I cannot fail. I cannot go mad," he muttered to himself, his voice shaky. His first stop was another hospital nearby. He cornered a young nurse, his tone urgent. "Please, I need help. A placenta, fresh. I can pay you well." The nurse frowned, backing away in shock. "Are you crazy? What are you talking about?" she hissed before storming off. Dayo's chest tightened. He was losing time. He tried another hospital. This time he slipped money into the palm of an orderly. "Please, I just need one. Tell me when a woman gives birth. I will pay double." The orderly looked at him with suspicion. "Oga, This is not something you joke with. Leave here before I call security. Rejection hit him like a whip. He wandered the streets, eyes darting, mind cracking under pressure. Every cry of a newborn pierced his ears. Every woman carrying a baby made his heart pound. By midday, the whispers of madness began. He felt his head grow light, his ears buzzing with strange sounds. At one point, he stopped in the middle of the road, clutching his skull. No, not yet. I must find it. I must. The sun rose lazily over Ibadan that fateful Sunday, but for Dayo it rose with the weight of doom. He had not slept the entire night. His eyes were red, his lips dry, his heart pounding like the talking drum in a village square. The Babalawo's warning echoed in his skull. Every first Sunday, fail, and madness will grip you instantly. By mid-morning his shirt was soaked in sweat, though the air was still cool. He paced his living room, muttering to himself, "What will I do now? Where will I find it? The midwife is dead and I cannot go empty-handed." Time ticked mercilessly. By noon, Dayo could no longer think straight. He grabbed his phone and called the only person who could understand, Deji. "Deji, I'm finished," he cried. "Today is the first Sunday and I have nothing. The midwife is gone. Please help me. Show me another way." Deji was silent for a moment, then sighed heavily. "Calm down, Dayo. I warned you this life is not for the weak. But I won't let you fall. Go to Adeoyo Hospital. There's another midwife there. Tell her I sent you. She will help." Dayo's body surged with sudden hope. Without another word, he grabbed his car keys and sped off. The new midwife was a stout woman with a calm face, the kind that suggested she had seen too much in her career to be surprised by anything. When Dayo explained, slipping Deji's name into the conversation, her eyes softened with recognition. "If Deji sent you," she said quietly, "then I know what you want. Don't worry. As soon as a baby arrives today, you shall have what you need." Relief washed over Dayo like rain after drought. He thanked her, pressing a bundle of cash into her hand. But then came the waiting. Hour after hour passed, and no baby came. Pregnant women groaned in the ward, their faces twisted with pain, but every single one of them had delayed labor. By evening, Dayo's chest was burning with panic. He kept checking the wall clock in the nurse's office. 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 9 p.m. Still nothing. By 11:30 p.m., he was still waiting. The midwife shook her head helplessly. "I don't know what is happening tonight. These women should have delivered, but their time is not yet ripe." Dayo felt like the ground was splitting under him. The first Sunday was almost over. Midnight was racing toward him like a lion. In desperation, Dayo made a decision. He rushed out of the hospital, his legs trembling, his car engine roaring into the night. There was only one person left who could save him, the Babalawo. By the time he arrived, the compound was dark, save for the glow of a small fire outside the hut. The Babalawo sat there, as though waiting for him. "Baba, please." Dayo fell on his knees, his voice breaking. "Help me. Just extend the time a little. Give me till tomorrow. The placenta is coming. The women are in labor, but none has delivered yet. Please, Baba, don't let madness take me tonight." The old man's eyes gleamed like burning coal. He shook his head slowly, his voice deep and sharp. "Worry makes a man run, but he cannot outrun fate." Dayo clasped his hands, trembling. "Please, Baba, just this once. Show mercy." But the Babalawo's face hardened. He who desires to eat ram must know that blood of the chicken is never enough. You craved wealth, you must pay its price. There is no extension in the spirit world. The covenant does not shift. Dayo's cries grew louder. "Then I am finished." The Babalawo rose, his staff in hand. "You knew from the beginning. Wealth feeds sacrifice. The time is near." Leave here, Dayo. Your fate waits for you. Terror seized him. He stumbled to his feet and bolted from the compound, his heart hammering like it would burst. The road back to the hospital was quiet. Too quiet. His car sped through the night, headlights cutting across the dark Ibadan streets. But then, the first whispers came. At first it was faint, a baby's cry, soft and distant. Dayo shook his head violently, gripping the steering wheel tighter. No, it's just in my head. It's not real, but the cries grew louder. 1 baby, 2 babies, 10. Soon the entire car was filled with the sound, wailing, shrieking, echoing in his skull. His eyes darted to the rearview mirror, and what he saw made his blood freeze. The back seat was full of newborn babies, pale and shivering, their eyes hollow, blood trickling from their tiny mouths. Some reached for him with bloody fingers, others wailed with open wounds where their cords had been cut. Dayo screamed, swerving violently on the road. No! No! Get out! Leave me! But they did not leave. Their cries pierced deeper, louder, unbearable. Soon they filled the front seat, the dashboard, the very air around him. He saw 1 baby on his lap, its eyes bleeding, whispering in a voice not human. You failed us, Dayo. Now it is your turn. The terror was too much. With a wild cry, Dayo slammed his brakes. The car screeched to a halt, tires screaming against the tarred road. He threw the door open, stumbling out into the night air. But the babies followed. They spilled from the car like a flood, crawling, crying, their voices now twisted into laughter. Dayo clutched his head, falling to his knees on the lonely road. No, please, leave me alone. Then, just as the clock struck midnight, it happened. A sharp pain split his skull. His vision blurred, his mouth foamed. He rolled on the ground, kicking, screaming as unseen hands pulled at his mind. The last thing he saw were the babies circling him, their eyes glowing red, their laughter echoing like thunder. And then, silence. The next morning, Ibadan woke to strange news. Passers-by had found Dayo on the roadside, clothes torn, body trembling, his mouth babbling nonsense. His once bright eyes had turned empty, lost to madness. In the market, whispers spread like wildfire. Have you heard? Dayo, the great meat seller, he has run mad. How? That man was selling cows like magic. What happened to him? Some said it was jealousy from other traders. Others whispered it was the price of dark wealth. But Dayo knew the truth. Watching from a distance, his face expressionless, he muttered under his breath, "Wealth feeds sacrifice." Always. And so the man who once rose above flies and failure ended as a shadow of himself, cursed by the very bargain that had lifted him. The queues at his stall disappeared. The laughter of customers vanished. All that remained was a madman wandering the streets of Ibadan, talking to invisible babies, his hands stained by the price of greed. Morals. Dayo's story reminds us that shortcuts to wealth often come with hidden chains. What looks like an easy road today may demand a price tomorrow that you cannot afford. True success may take longer, but it leaves no stains on your hands and no shadows haunting your nights. So, as you chase your own dreams, ask yourself, will you build with patience and integrity, or gamble with your soul for quick gains? If this inspired you, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, because more powerful stories are coming your way.